In the memories of many fans, Michael Landon will always be Charles Ingalls, the kind, benevolent father from Little House on the Prairie. Yet, for Melissa Gilbert, the former half-pint, her real-life relationship with Michael Landon was far more complex and shrouded in hidden depths. After decades of silence, at 61 years old, Melissa Gilbert has finally revealed shocking truths about Michael Landon, things he did that profoundly impacted her life and left fans heartbroken. Melissa Gilbert and Michael Landon, the untold story. In the memories of countless fans, Michael Landon will forever be Charles Ingalls, the kind, benevolent father from Little House on the Prairie. Yet, for Melissa Gilbert, the spirited half-pint from those days, her real-life relationship with Michael Landon was far more intricate and fraught with hidden complexities. After decades of silence, at 61 years old, Melissa Gilbert has finally revealed shocking truths about Michael Landon, actions that profoundly impacted her life and left fans heartbroken. Melissa Gilbert spent a significant portion of her life safeguarding the image of Michael Landon, the man she regarded as a father figure. However, after more than 3 decades, at 61, Melissa ultimately decided to break her silence and disclose the truths she had kept hidden for so long. The story she tells isn't one of blatant scandal or betrayal, but a complex tapestry of love, disillusionment, and the painful moment she realized that even the man she idolized could deeply wound her. Michael Landon, Melissa's second father. In Melissa Gilbert's young life, Michael Landon quickly became a solid pillar, the father figure she always longed for. Melissa grew up in an incomplete family. Her father passed away early, and her mother was always busy with work, leaving her feeling a lack of paternal attention and guidance. From the very first day she stepped onto the set of Little House on the Prairie as a young girl, Michael Landon embraced Melissa with open arms. He wasn't just a director or a co-star, he was truly a second father. Michael treated Melissa like his own daughter, giving her the affectionate nickname Half-Pint and frequently teasing her lovingly. He patiently taught her how to act, guiding her through every gesture, expression, and even how to conduct herself in life. Landon constantly offered valuable advice, protecting Melissa on set from the pressures of the entertainment industry. More than just work, he even invited her to his own family gatherings, making Melissa feel a sense of belonging, loved as a true member. Their relationship wasn't merely one of colleagues. It was a strong, genuine, and deep affection, connecting two people in a special way that Melissa cherished throughout her life. Cracks in the relationship. The father-daughter relationship between Melissa and Michael seemed unbreakable, as solid as the very image of Charles Ingalls that Michael portrayed. Melissa, with boundless love and admiration, idolized Michael and never once doubted his authority or perfection. To her, he was everything, the most steadfast pillar in her life. But could a relationship truly remain perfect forever? Slowly and painfully, over time, invisible cracks began to appear, creeping into that seemingly flawless picture. Melissa, with the sensitivity of a growing child, gradually started noticing signs of tension, whispers behind the scenes that she couldn't fully comprehend, and an elusive shift in Michael's energy. Something was wrong, but she couldn't name it. This change manifested most clearly in Michael's demeanor. Melissa realized how he treated people differently when the cameras weren't rolling, a mysterious and distant disparity. Then, even more frighteningly, she sensed that Michael began to distance himself from her. The second father whom she trusted and loved so deeply suddenly became cold, a stranger. This pain gnawed at Melissa's young soul. Why did she remain silent about these alarming changes? For Melissa, saying anything negative about Michael, even a small complaint, felt like a betrayal of the man who had brought her stability and love. She felt trapped between her gratitude and the pain of being hurt. This haunting silence was not only a burden, but also led Melissa to question whether the relationship she always considered family was truly genuine for Michael. Was the affection one-sided, originating solely from her? That question grew steadily in Half-Pint's mind, foreshadowing an inevitable moment of disillusionment. The moment of disillusionment. There was no earth-shattering argument, no official goodbye, but sometimes change comes from the smallest things, from an indifferent glance or a chilling silence. For Melissa, it was a specific moment, a time when she realized a profound shift in her relationship with Michael. It happened during a later filming season when Melissa, as on countless other occasions, made a mistake. Instinctively, she turned to Michael, the man she always saw as a father, a mentor, expecting a word of encouragement, a familiar, reassuring pat on the shoulder. Instead, what she received was an empty stare, a cold indifference. This was the moment Half-Pint realized a bitter truth. For the first time, she felt like nothing more than an employee, not his daughter. Michael continued the scene without a word, without any warmth. Melissa's entire world seemed to crumble in that instant. Did the relationship she always cherished, always saw as her lifeline, truly matter only to her? That question lingered in Melissa's mind. At that time, Michael Landon was also grappling with his own personal struggles, a tumultuous divorce and intense work pressure. Despite understanding this, Melissa couldn't help but blame herself, constantly trying to regain his approval and affection. The pain and confusion led her to remain silent about this for many years, even after Michael's death. That pain became a burden, a secret she carried alone, until much later. The silence after the show ended. When Little House on the Prairie wrapped, Melissa knew the transition would be tough, but she never anticipated the eerie silence from Michael. There was no warm farewell party, no private goodbye, just a generic wrap-up party, and then nothing. The phone call Melissa longed for from Michael, the call to maintain the father-daughter bond she cherished, never came. The Half-Pint of yesterday now had to navigate adulthood on her own, watching Michael's career from a distance. In her heart, she constantly blamed herself, wondering if she had done something wrong, if she had inadvertently alienated this father figure. It was only much later that Melissa realized Michael Landon was a complex man, with a habit of decisively ending chapters in his life. He was the kind of person who was ready to shed the past to move forward. Even understanding that, the pain lingered. Because for Melissa, Little House wasn't just a role, it was a lifeline, everything she had during her formative years. That abrupt severing left a deep emotional wound that wasn't easily healed. Michael Landon's death and Melissa's regret. In 1991, the news of Michael Landon's cancer diagnosis struck Melissa like a thunderbolt. She was stunned and heartbroken, not only by his illness, but also because they hadn't spoken in years. A part of her yearned to reach out, to mend their fractured relationship, but something invisible held her back. Melissa wrestled with herself, with her fear and hesitation. By the time she gathered the courage to put pen to paper and write him a letter, it was too late. Michael Landon passed away just 3 months after publicly announcing his diagnosis. Melissa attended his funeral, but she carried a heavy burden, so much left unsaid, so many questions unasked, and so many unresolved emotions. The silence after Little House never truly ended, and it became her greatest regret in life. Melissa didn't want to tarnish the memory of Michael Landon, whom she had loved so dearly. However, she also couldn't deny the pain of being left behind, of a relationship she considered familial ending so coldly. She had loved him as a father, a mentor, but ultimately she realized she was just another co-star in his tumultuous life. That pain, though silent, continued to smolder in her heart for decades. Melissa Gilbert breaks her silence. For decades, Melissa Gilbert carefully guarded the most sensitive parts of her story with Michael Landon. Whenever asked about him, she consistently affirmed he was a wonderful person, a way to protect her own cherished memories and the image fans held dear. But time has softened the fear and the burden of silence. Recently, Melissa began speaking more openly, not out of anger or a desire for retaliation, but from a deep yearning for honesty and love. She publicly acknowledged the pain of being left behind, the confusion of feeling cast aside, and even the guilt of wondering if she could have done something different to preserve that relationship. She admitted that she had protected Michael Landon's legacy for many years, even when it caused her personal pain. Melissa also frankly expressed her anger that Michael Landon never explained the estrangement, never offered a clear goodbye, and never reached out during the most difficult moments of her life. She shared the challenges of her adult life and wished Michael had remained the pillar she once remembered. She has accepted the heartbreaking truth that the man who was once her home has now become a ghost. When asked why she waited so long to tell her truth, Melissa simply replied that she wasn't ready. She felt a heavy obligation to protect the image of Michael Landon that millions of fans adored. But now, she realizes that speaking her truth doesn't erase the love she had for him. On the contrary, it honors it. By acknowledging the pain and complexity of their relationship, she isn't destroying Michael's memory, but rather telling the full story, a story far more authentic and profound. Love and acceptance. Melissa Gilbert didn't share her story to seek attention or create drama. She did it to share a truth that had germinated and grown from deep within the silence. She loved Michael Landon and still does, but not in the naive way of a child. It's the love of a mature woman who can see the man behind the legend with all his flaws and still choose to remember the good. Melissa still remembers Michael's voice and laughter, and in her heart, she still calls him Papa. If she could say one thing to him now, she would say, "I wish you had stayed." She has accepted that her pain wasn't a betrayal, but a reflection of the depth of their connection and how genuine that affection was to her. She doesn't want to shatter the romance fans have for Little House on the Prairie, but she also experienced the cost behind the camera. Michael Landon wasn't a villain. He was a talented, charismatic, but imperfect human being. And perhaps he never realized how deeply his absence affected the girl who once ran to his side. Today, Melissa lives in quiet peace. She has shared her truth not to rewrite history, but to reclaim her own voice. Her story isn't about blame, but about the courage to say, "I was hurt, but I still love him and always will." Melissa Gilbert's silence wasn't cowardice, but loyalty. But silence can become a burden, and when it lasts too long, it begins to resemble consent. Her recent honesty is significant not because it's dramatic, but because it's authentic. She didn't tarnish Michael Landon's legacy, she honored it by telling the whole story. Michael Landon will always be remembered as Charles Ingalls, the wise, kind, loving father. But for Melissa, he was a much more complex and real person. And though she may never say all the things she kept inside, one truth remains. She never stopped loving him, even when the silence was more painful than goodbye. What do you think about this special bond? Is everyone fortunate enough to find a mentor like Michael Landon was for Melissa? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on more interesting and emotional stories like this.